Welcome inside the Game One studio, the preferred apparel and equipment provider of higher ed athletics. Recently I went on the higher ed athletics road trip, and one of those stops was Eddie Nuñez. And Eddie and I had a great conversation. You're going to see a theme about the perspective of university presidents. I talked about it. He shares his own background of how earlier in his career, why he got to learn from presidents and not just meeting athletic directors. And a lot of that can kind of turn into a theme of what I just released yesterday, the Modern AD. It is a new monthly digital product that is really, for lack of a better word, an online magazine. And you can see the PDF on LinkedIn or directly on higheredathletics.com. You can see the web base there. And I wanted to just tell you what is in the contents so that you can make the decision to go there yourself and see the first issue. Now, look, this will be eventually starting next month. This will be subscription only or single purchase. So right now, you can go in there and subscribe for $20 a month, and you won't get billed until the July edition comes out. Or every issue will be available for about $35. And this first one I want to just kind of tell you about in there is reaction to AD hires. So I talk about Kentucky and Oregon State. I do an AD film study of a press conference, John Harlow at Washington State. Power AD openings, Virginia Tech. One of the three names that I mentioned on there was Brian White, who has now just been named the Virginia Tech Athletic Director. Also had two other names. I go into why I think that Virginia Tech might go the direction that they go and what they went. Also go into Michigan State. What are they going to do next? Wisconsin, what I think they're going to do and maybe what their backup plans might be. And then Miami, a lot of interesting comments coming out from the president. And then Purdue, in my back of the woods here. I live about 45 minutes from Purdue, and there's some key themes here. Okay. So 4 of these 5 don't have presidents, including Virginia Tech. And so that is one common theme throughout the modern AD is linking this athletic director job with the college presidents. Also, I wrote an article, 6 things I learned working for a Big Ten president that athletic directors should know. And then I look at ways to kind of tie in, if you were someone that wants to be an athletic director, or you someone that wants to be a president, how can you kind of learn from each other? And so every month I'm going to break down 2 separate conferences. And so for the athletic directors, I talk about the backgrounds of the ACC. And for presidents and chancellors, I talk about the Big 12. Fresno State's Garrett Classy was one of the most popular episodes I've ever released. In the first 2 days, I think it had over 500 just YouTube views. It was just is not big for some people. It's pretty big for higher ed athletics. And I saved a question. So a question that I thought was the best one was never in the podcast. And that's because I wanted to put it in this edition. And he talks about Bulldog Sports Enterprises, bringing their media rights in-house. And then I do a deputy dive. So I'm going to do 1 or 2 of these every time. This one I did UC's John Daniel and then Baylor's Javon Overshone. Obviously, they've both been on the podcast, but I summarized my thoughts after having them on the podcast and why I think they're going to be athletic directors soon. And then the last real thing in each of these editions is going to be teaching you about a cabinet position that maybe you don't interact with as a deputy AD or someone rising up the ranks. And this one, I do the VP for government relations. So that is the modern AD. The first one's completely free, completely ad-free. You can get the web-based version on the homepage of higheredathletics.com, or you can see the PDF there as well. And also, if you follow the Higher Ed Athletics channel or you're connected with me on LinkedIn, you can see both of those versions there too. So the modern AD, you can subscribe now. You won't get billed until July. And then also, if you just like it, but you're not ready to subscribe yet, there is a button on there if you want to support. It's also in the show notes of a $10 suggested tip, if you will, that just to, a lot of work went into this one. I know you didn't ask for it, but I really try to put the best content out possible for my niche audience of people that want to be athletic directors. And as I start trying to connect the people that are wanting to be university presidents one day. Ready to roll?
Ready.
All right, Eddie, so you've been here almost 2 years now. As crazy as that seems, like I still can remember you being, the AD at New Mexico, and 2 years goes by quick. Maybe not for you. I don't know. It's been a crazy time. But I'm always curious from one place to another, other than the Reds and you not having to change all of your look except for the baby blues.
Yep.
But what were you able to maybe that you found success, obviously, at New Mexico? Was there anything you took with you, like idea-wise or structure-wise, that you came in and were able to implement at Houston?
Yes. Well, yeah, 2 years have gone by fast. And I will tell you this. I was telling somebody earlier, I think it was one of the first interviews that we did was right after COVID and sitting down with you and doing a Zoom podcast. And reflecting back to my time at New Mexico, I've taken a lot from there. New Mexico was a great learning opportunity for me, um, not just because it was the first time sitting in the seat, but really all the challenges that we had there. The financial challenges, the things that I inherited when I arrived there helped me become a better, well rounded administrator, a professional. As we look at our industry today, I mean, we're glorified CEOs in many, many ways. We're looking at the way the business is in so many different, views. And so my time at New Mexico really gave me an opportunity to help right the ship. There was a lot of things that needed to be done, that needed to be finished, completed, addressed, and then coming here, fast forwarding here, that background has allowed me to have a little more patience in what I do here, um, understanding that this is a new era that we've embarked upon. Not scary; it's just something that we have to understand and deal with it. But New Mexico is really instrumental in helping me come here with more confidence, understanding whatever challenges that come my way. There's a way to address it. There's a way to adhere to it. But you've got to find the right people around you.
Well, I also know obviously Fernando was there after you and went off to Colorado, but I did my homework on the opening at New Mexico, and usually I try to come up with a short list, but I even said, I was like, I'm not going to do a short list.
Yeah.
I was like, this just feels like it's Ryan Berryman.
Yeah.
And so I got to know him a little bit. Maybe speak to I don't know if you hired Ryan there, if he was already working, but obviously he worked with you
Yep.
for quite a bit of time. What makes you think that he was the right person to lead?
Well, they had two good choices. First of all, I think at the end of the day, Jalen Dominguez and both Ryan they're New Mexicans. They've been there. I was able to bring them both into my team. Ryan was working with basketball, and I had him transfer over to working within our department. And one of the things that I learned with Ryan is he was very good with the operations, understood, saw things in a different perspective, which is what we need in the department. We wanted people that can see things differently, but also had a lot of attention to detail. Again, Jalen was somebody who had the ability to fundraise, understood the culture. So they both had a lot coming to them. Where that department is today, it's a great decision to select a New Mexican. As I said, we were able to clean up and do a lot of things that needed to get done. Fernando came in and took the ball and just continued to grow it and make the place better. Had some great hires there, helped really elevate that department even further. So now it really what they're looking for is somebody to continue to raise it up, continue to get that fan base, which is what we really spent a lot of time over the last, my 7 years there is building the trust of the fans and everyone there. So now they have two individuals, because again, Jalen's still around, but Ryan, having had experience at a high level, who understands what it takes to get it to where it is today, it's a great opportunity for their program.
Yeah, and I think, and I had mentioned Jalen too in the show, because I said, I think his first, if it's Ryan, I think his first thing is he's got to be able to keep Jalen, because it seems like such a great administration they're building. So we'll get to Houston now.
Yeah.
I had to start with that.
No, it's okay.
There's this new program, the Future ADs program at the University of Oklahoma in the Executive Academy. And, congratulations, just winning the College World Series as well. But look, they have this event coming up soon, a 3-day, almost like immersive learning. You get a certificate. It is a true executive business program in their business school. We've seen things like this from non-athletics, but now this is Future ADs program. It's led by Joe Castiglione, and they have expert faculty throughout their school. And I've been talking to them a little bit about ways to maybe make it even stronger. And what I like about this is I love networking, right? There's something about a cohort. I've talked about this with people on the show. The great thing about this is it's really immersive learning. You're going to get 3 days with expert faculty from the Price Executive Academy. And what I like from talking to Nicholas Toby about this is it's not just a networking thing. This is a come do your homework, be prepared to work hard for 3 days and prepare to be an athletic director. This is something that I think the industry is lacking. And I think that you should consider doing this. The dates, July 22nd to the 24th, learn directly from Joe Clasiglione, and then also faculty and experts from the industry. I know Chris Hoppy from Excel is going to be there too. Chris is great. Uh, you can receive a certificate for attending this, as well as digital badging. But look, I think that this program is maybe what some of you need right now. Is it's not about networking, it's about thinking internally and being a little selfish about how you can even be more prepared for some of these athletic director jobs that come up. And I think you should check it out. Price College of Business Executive Academy, the Future Athletic Directors Program. The deadline is July 1st. That's why I'm talking to you now. You need to go to the show notes, click the link in there, read a lot more about it. And then if this is for you, sign up there by July 1st. Well, let's get to Houston.
Yep.
And Renu Khator is a chancellor that I've studied as a higher education doctorate for. I've been in the program way too long. I won't even say how long, but I study college presidents. I worked for a college president, so she's had longevity at this place. She's also seen this place grow, and you obviously have a really strong board of regents chaired with really good business, people as well. But maybe talk about what it's like working for her these last 2 years too.
Oh, it's been exceptional. You talk about alignment, which is, we all say it in college athletics, how important it is to have alignment in college sports or just in any kind of business. She understands what high level athletics needs to be. She came here with a vision that this university can grow and can really be a difference maker, not just in the world of college, of universities in Texas, but internationally. And so the rankings where she's elevated this university, where it is today, is night and day from when she got here. So in our athletic department, we are in a position to not just be in the Big 12, but be competitive in the Big 12 and compete for championships nationally, because she allows us to be able to do what we're capable of doing here. So I'm very fortunate to have worked with some great presidents in my couple stops as athletic director, but even before that, I probably take a similar trait. One of the things I did as a deputy, and even my first several years at New Mexico, was I took it upon myself to reach out to many presidents across the country. Even though, somebody may be thinking, well, is he doing this because he's trying to become the AD there? No, I took it as a learning opportunity, how they developed their leadership teams and how they did things. So to be able to be with somebody who, her leadership style, her presence, her forward thinking, her vision is honestly, it's one of the top that I've ever been around. Makes it easy here to be able to do what we do.
Well, I would argue that, especially at the FBS level, is your job as the athletic director is really more evolved into the role that you see a college president make. I mean, how they manage their staffs. You're probably not in the day-to-day weeds of the athletic department like you wish you could be at times. You have to think big picture. Same time, president has to be able to balance the faculty and staff. You have to balance your head coaches and your staff. She has students, you have students, and so you also have very public facing roles. So mentioning that I think it's fascinating that you talked to other college presidents earlier in your career. I think that's a really good idea. How do you see your approach as the AD more like a college president? Does that sound like, obviously not the same importance? You wouldn't say that, but like the role has to be similar.
We're here for the same mission at the end of the day. It's to continue to make this university the best it can be in all aspects, not just athletics. We are here as a team to help elevate the university. And yes, we both have very high profile roles, just like our basketball coach does. And people think, being in one of the largest cities in the world, and especially in the United States, that you can get lost because there's so many people in the city of Houston. The fact is, our role here is just as impactful throughout this whole city. And I've noticed that. And I've stated many times, this is the university for Houston. And it really is, because the more I go around the city getting to know people, that presence of being the athletic director has changed. It has a different role today than it was, even a couple years ago. And for her, the same. So when we're out there, we represent this university, and I get it. And so it's bigger than just what we do in the day to day. We are out there trying to make sure that we're placing this university in a position where people, businesses, donors see us in the light that that we deserve to be in.
Well, and your donors are going to be smart people and your business leaders. So if you are not lockstep, saying the same type of language as your president or your chancellor at an institution, I mean, they're going to sniff that out and see misalignment.
Yeah. It's critical that we meet every week. She and we talk probably multiple times a week. She's at every event that we do. I mean, she is one of the ones that if she can be there, she's going to be there. And so the messaging is aligned, and it's aligned all the way down to our coaches, because again, for us, it's the village approach. I've always said this in my career. I've learned this a long time ago at LSU, that there was a gymnastics coach by the name of Dee Bro who always talked about the village and what it took. And that gymnastics program today, what it is because of what she instilled back then. And I also understood that that village approach is what allowed that program to grow and have the success it had. Same thing when I got to New Mexico, same thing I've done here, is making sure that the village around us, we're all messaging the same thing to the community. If we're going to grow this at the leaps and bounds that we know we can, we need everybody speaking the same message.
Hey, if you were at NACTA, I hope you got to talk to someone at AD Vantage, Data with Context, hiring and evaluating head coaches, comparing budgets, evaluating and writing contracts, maintain your own watch list for what's important to specific programs. Visit athleticdirectorvantage.com. Let me tell you about two of my favorite things about this. I love the Coach Effect score. You're going to have to check out what that is and how they came up with this. But also, I really love these watch lists. And so, for example, if you look at the modern AD and you see athletic director contracts, that's because the way I use AD Vantage is I use my own watch list for administrators, but you can do it for coaches. And what's great about that is it's no longer, just writing names down. You can actually track these names that you are considering, and it can be assistant coaches, it can be head coaches, certain sports. So whether you're the athletic director making the decision or you're a sport administrator, I see value in how you evaluate your coaches, also how you evaluate other coaches in case either for better or worse, you have to make a change soon. So visit athleticdirectorvantage.com because your competitors probably already have. Well, I want to stick with, we're talking about sticking to the same message, Ball, and communication is obviously key to that. At the same time, I want to go kind of internal to the industry of college athletics. There's a lot of news headlines, a lot of podcasts like mine where people come on and talk. Yeah, I know there's a lot. And there's a lot of B2B news. And I'm always curious, like, how do you extract what's valuable and necessary to know versus if maybe you can either see something as a distraction or sniff it out as like, maybe it's like trying to influence a decision type thing out. Because I know ADs are smart people, but there's still a lot of nuggets to pull from all those. You just have to make sure it's not a distraction and that it's real.
You have to understand, I think the easiest comparisons when you're out there listening now, because of social media and everything else, everybody's talking about what each school is spending on rev share or NIL or this or that. And I think the one thing that's consistent is you can't believe everything you hear or you read. And the more and more you see those numbers, I mean, I've seen numbers regarding our institution, what we're doing, and it's way out there. And so it allows me to understand that yes, those numbers that I'm reading here aren't accurate, and the people that are putting them may have an agenda. They may have another reason to do so. So what I've come to learn is trust the people that I've become good friends with in this industry. Have conversations. Not to say that I need you to tell me what you're doing or how you're doing it, but understand what if I'm truly doing what I should be doing as an administrator, it doesn't matter what level. I don't care if you're the lowest level or you're the AD. Reach out, have those talks with people you trust. I still look at the ticker. I still look at social media every day, but I also don't get as engulfed in it as I was at one point, because I know for the most part that we need to make sure there is balance. I can't go in there thinking, well, such and such school's done these 10 things. those 10 things may not even apply here. And first of all, there's probably reasons why they did those 10 things that are different than what we would do here. So you have to have that understanding. As I get older, I think part of it is
Wiser.
I don't know about wiser, but I'm a little more patient with the way I approach some of that information. It's good for us to see what others do. It's good to see what success they have had doing certain things. For us, if we can replicate some of those things, or maybe there's something that we've done that they are now replicating. And it's good to see how maybe they've modified it in a way that works even better for us. So for me, it's trying to understand, see what applications actually work for me and our department here. Anything else, it's just noise.
Well, that's by nature. That's what higher education itself does. They replicate. It's isomorphism is, for one, a very hard word to say, but it's one that
that's a big
I've
time
said
right
it
there.
so many times. But like, I had almost a whole class about how institutions try to, because you think about it, they're not recruiting the same student necessarily as you. Like if you look at, like for example, when I was at IU, I was in the Indianapolis campus. And so as they were transitioning to IU Indianapolis instead of IUPUI, it was a separation between IU and Purdue. The president had the idea of bringing in a chancellor and then also said, I want this to be the greatest possible urban research university. And so what do? We go and study the greatest urban research universities, which includes a Houston, because you can find that population of people that historically maybe were seen as a city university that had a commuter, which obviously this place is not anymore. I mean, I've driven through campus. But like when you apply that to an athletic department, you all might be competing against the same people, but you have your conference peers, you have your aspirational peers if you're battling against. But like determining what idea would even work here or not, that's a skill in itself, because you can't just like do everything, but you can pick and choose. And I think it creates ideas too, right?
It does, and I agree with you. Now, having been here in the state of Texas for 2 years, I will tell you, Texas, it competes against Texas first and foremost. You can do that. You are already in a great position when it comes nationally. There's some unbelievable institutions in the state of Texas. Our conference has some great institutions. If we can figure out what works for us to be able to compete, just first and foremost in that category, in those categories, then taking it upon in the Power Four, or even whatever it is, whatever conference, whatever school, it's figuring out what you can do and what to make yourself the best you can be within your peers, within whoever you compare yourself to. And so I do the same. We all do that. It's about trying to figure out what works for us and what's best. We have a institution that is making a lot of noise across the world when it comes to the academic side. Athletics, we have been extremely successful. I mean, basketball, the countless Final Fours that we've had. I mean, football winning 10 games last year, going to a bowl game. The revenue that we've been able to generate over the last several years, there's so many positives happening. But it's a matter of, okay, that's great, but I'm not here to compare myself. I got to keep growing our place.
Yeah, one of the things on this road trip I've been asking the ADs is, I do say, it's not even really asking, it's just stating the obvious, is I guess I already know there's tons of schools in the state, but I mean, you really are, I mean, it's a huge state, but you really are competing against each other for eyeballs, but also really for business opportunities in this new model. And that's why some of them, I think, have busted each other's chops when I visited with them. And but yeah, I mean, you look at FBS alone in the state of Texas, it's a competitive market.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking business, a great example of that is, excuse me, you've got more Fortune 500 companies in our city. When you think of the university, when you think about Houston, when you think about being the epicenter of energy, oil, gas, putting all our peers in the state of Texas are all doing the same. Guess what? Many of these same companies that are here in the city have a relationship with many of those institutions. So how do we differentiate ourselves from them? This is they're housed here. Their business, their main corporate offices are in Houston. How do we take advantage of that? And that's what we've been focusing on. But it's a balance, because many of them have ties to some of the other schools in the state of Texas, and that's okay. We got to show them what we're about and how we can help, because many of their workforce pipeline, the people that are actually working in the industry, are coming from the University of Houston. 1 out of 4 Houstonians, or again, residents of the city of Houston, have a connection, either graduated or have a connection to the University of Houston. That's incredible. We got to take advantage of that.
So obviously a lot of basketball success, and you talking about this made me think
Yep.
about that. I come from an IU as an alum and a current student, and I worked there. Nobody would have thought football would have that. I mean, I've been watching IU football. I haven't missed a game in like 25 years. But at Houston and in the state of Texas, you all have one of the best men's basketball programs. But if you win a national championship, that's great. But at the same time, you have to balance that out with football in the state. So like having the 10 wins last year, I mean, what's the balance you think with the fans? Like, they going to be more excited about a Houston men's basketball national championship, or are they going to be like, we want to get in the CFP? If you only had to choose one, I mean, I wonder like what your fan base is. I mean, that's got to be challenging as an AD, because you're like,
I don't know if there's I think they would be as successful or as appreciative either way. To know that what Coach Sampson has done with our basketball program and how close we've come to a national championship, winning one. I have been a part of many national championships in many sports. Fortunate just because of my career and being at the right place at the right time, and knowing what it entails to win and win at that level. The program that he has established here is truly remarkable. The work ethic, the culture, the behind the scenes, what they do to prepare and honestly recruit great kids. Add that to the success, winningest program in the last decade. That, I mean, all the facts to show. We got to get there. We got to win that national championship. We understand. But when it comes to wins and losses and what he has done with this program and from where he took it from is really astonishing. And then you bring in someone like Willie Fritz, who has been successful everywhere he's been. Came in here, took over a program. The great kids on his first year team, probably not nowhere close to the talent we needed to be in the Big 12. Second year, which was last year, all of a sudden he goes from 4 wins to 10. And when you think about those 10 wins, going undefeated on the road, winning the Texas Bowl, what was more impressive to me than anything else is seeing, we're playing LSU and seeing over 35,000 our fans in that arena, or in that stadium, cheering on the Cougs. What he is building, he just signed the #1 player in the country, not quarterback, the #1 player in the country is here. He is a Texas Houston kid right out of the Woodlands. We've got the recruiting class he has. We are building it. So when you ask me to choose between them, for me, I believe we could do them both. I truly do.
Well, you probably won't have a happy fan base until you have both.
And we'll get there. We got the two.
Well,
coaches.
anywhere, like, because here's the reason I say that. As an AD, it's got to be stressful because, IU men's basketball, for example, stick with that example. Football wins national championship. Yeah. Nobody would have thought that would happen. Men's basketball, first year head coach there. It's not that they missed the March Madness. Yeah. You think the world was falling down. Yeah. And it's like, hey, realize how difficult it is to come up with resources for both these programs, and then also have some patience. But I just had to ask that because you had, because I mean, I've paid attention to Houston basketball for years, and the consistent winner that Coach Sampson has built. And then with football, I just know I'm in the state of football. I mean, there's high school stadiums in the state that rival many of the FBS.
Well, I'll add this to it. I'm fortunate to have two coaches, and I'll say it in a nice way. They're old school, what many people would consider old school, but they're probably two of the most innovative coaches that we have that support each other. So to have those two coaches leading in not just as their respective sports, but helping me with this department and really moving the needle where we need to. I can't ask for two better people.
Well, to kind of round things out, this is kind of a mixed bag of question because I'm always curious about how in this modern model that you all are approaching revenue, and also at the same time we're starting to see some reconfiguration of staff roles or job descriptions in general. And I know that you all have been hiring for certain positions too. How have you approached revenue generation, and then how has that also strategically required you to maybe move your job descriptions a bit?
Yeah, so when I first arrived here, I didn't have the knee-jerk decision to start going and just changing positions. I wanted to assess the department. We had some very good people in this department that were doing great things. What I needed to do is find out if they were in the right positions that are going to help us move this department forward. And that assessment took me probably almost a year. I made some initial movements, but over the last probably 6 months, we've started now recreating what the structure of this department looks. Making the verticals that we're making it are more external facing verticals within the department. So creating the chief branding officer, the chief revenue officer, changing their roles, their tasks, what they're doing, bringing in, renewing our sponsorship with Learfield, our partnership with Learfield. That has also helped elevate certain aspects because it's a new vision, a new approach of how we're going and chasing revenue. So over the last 6 months is really where this department's starting to now redefine itself into the culture, the vision, the standard of what I expect when I first arrived here. So we're adding new roles, new perspectives. We also need to look at this differently, like everybody else is. Going back to traditional donors is not going to be how we continue to move forward. We have an incredible, you think about all those Fortune 500 companies that I mentioned earlier, those businesses are impactful. We have to find ways to partner up with them, bring them in, not just as sponsors, but ways that we can help each other to really elevate the city of Houston and this university. So we've been fortunate because we're establishing more relationships with them. We're getting out there. You asked earlier, we've talked about what it entails to be an AD today. It's different. I'm spending, unfortunately, more of my time out there building relationships with leaders that are not just business leaders. They're city leaders, they're state leaders that are going to help us potentially find new revenue streams that have never been brought to the University of Houston. So yeah, it's a lot more attention to detail out in the community, and then making sure that we have the right staff and structure here in place to help kind of manage all the ins and outs of what happened on the day-to-day. I love being in the department. I love walking around. I love going to practices. I love doing all that. But it has changed a little bit. And I have to get out there more than probably I've ever done anywhere else.
I wanted to give a shout out to Kim Quigley and Cole Gahagan from Learfield for this strategic partnership that they just announced at NACDA, where the 140 plus schools that Learfield supports are now going to have discounted services, packages of on-rise care. Now, it's important to note this does not replace anything that your campus may have already be doing. It's not a judgment on your school or your athletic department. These are additional layers of resources. And what I found interesting is really how this conversation started between Kim and Cole is they're both parents of college athletes, and they care deeply about it, about when you send your son or daughter to a campus, they understand as an athlete what type of pressures they're dealing with on top of just being a college student away from home. And that's why this is going to be a great partnership, in my opinion. And if anything, it's just people now, even more people are learning about what I already heard about how great OnRise is. And I'm so proud to partner with them. And big shout out to Learfield for stepping up and really opening the doors and introducing more schools and athletic departments to what Kim and OnRise are building. Advice to close out for you're what I would consider a traditional AD because you've been doing this for a while and you're still so young.
I hope so.
The deputy that had worked their butt off for he or she to rise up the ranks to now they're a deputy AD level. They're the chief whatever officer depending on the place. They're starting to hear this noise. I've had several reach out to me. Do you really think that it's going to be these outside people coming in, or how do we protect against that? And what I tell them is, look, it's a lot easier to, I think, learn sports and the business model and apply that to the new version of college athletics now that those constraints have been placed off or removed, than it is for someone that works for a professional sports team that they think they're going to come in as an AD, voice pitch, and they're going to think that they can come in as an AD and just be like, oh, I can just run this like the Houston Texans. Well, in reality, you've got a president, you've got a cabinet, and you've got the board of regents, and it is going to be slow moving at times.
Yeah.
What compared to a professional sports model? So, what would your advice be for those deputies? What can they do to maybe learn the business side? Because they're not going to necessarily be the ones talking to these Fortune 500 companies. What can they learn to kind of protect against that, and so that when they go on an interview, they can still speak intelligently about what can we extract from that model?
Yeah, first of all, stay the course in learning and understanding this business, because every day I feel like I might not be learning the same amount that I learn every day, but some days it might be more than others. And me, as the director of athletics here, I'm learning something because I'm pushing myself to do so. So what I would tell the same thing to all the deputies, senior associate ADs, and so on, and whatever titles they have, get outside of your comfort zone, because now more than ever you need to understand every aspect beyond just the day to day. Now you have to understand the day to day, and you have to understand what it entails to do your job and do it really well. Sometimes people get so consumed with trying to figure out what the next person is doing. If they're in fundraising, they want to know what marketing may be doing or this, that. Do your job, do it really well, but also at the same time, always look at what the AD is doing, learn from how they approach things, right or wrong, good or indifferent. If you're sitting in that seat, how would you approach certain things? I think it's a lost art that many of the administrators don't take the time to see. If I'm going out there to do a press conference, why am I doing it? What am I saying? What's a better approach? How can I learn from that? But also go out there and intentionally go and meet business leaders. Learn about the private equity of the world. Learn about the businesses. Learn about the corporations, because this is becoming more of a CEO of a multi-million-dollar industry, which it's always been, but now it's even more than ever. The reality is, if they want to be a player that's going to be able to make decisions that are going to benefit the university and the athletic department, they have to be well-rounded. So go do your homework. Go get connected. Take the time to learn, get to meet presidents. Don't just meet ADs. Go meet presidents. They're going to be the ones that are hiring you one day. What does it take? Those regents that are business leaders, well, how can I communicate with them? It's not just going in there and saying, hey, how are you doing? No, it's understanding that you want to have an articulate conversation with them that's going to allow you to feel comfortable.
Game One is a one-stop shop for premium college athletic uniforms, apparel, equipment, facility products, and more. From partnerships with teams and organizations to work and dedication with local communities, Game One continually strives to take on every day, season, and competition with excitement and purpose. Focus on an intercollegiate athletics business model that has grown by almost 30% in the past year. Game One continues to expand its sales and service model in this space. For partnership opportunities, please contact Tim McMurray, Vice President of Collegiate Partnerships, at tim.mcmurray@game-one.com. Yeah. Eddie, thanks for
Thank
letting
you.
me come to
My
Houston.
pleasure.
And,
My pleasure.
And it's really fun to be in Houston, the city, and it's thriving. And I really love this campus. It's awesome, and I'd say it's no longer a commuter school, and it hasn't
Absolutely
been for many
not.
years. And I think between you and Renu Khator, it's shooting up the top of the Big 12.
Well, I appreciate you being here. The University of Houston is a special place, and for those that haven't had an opportunity to come through here, I welcome them, because what we're doing here is unlike any other place. And as I keep telling our staff, everything is possible here with the right people and the right mindset. So thank you for coming. Really appreciate you.